And almost a year after Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina, killing 108 people, the historic storm has forced emergency managers to take a look at their precautions and measures in place. Our own Nate Morabito found some inconsistent, maybe inadequate, some cases non-existent efforts to evacuate those at risk and up to and leading up to the storm, Nate. And you also met a couple of sisters really at the center part of this story who really provided some candid and just fascinating accounts of their experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember in the weeks after Helene, there was a lot of talk about emergency messaging and who received messages, who didn't, the cell phone service, the power going out, all of these complications. And in North Carolina, these local counties are the ones that are making the decisions about when to have mandatory, voluntary evacuations, no evacuations. And even remember here in Charlotte, there was mandatory evacuations along Riverside Drive where, there was flooding there. And in some parts of western North Carolina, there weren't evacuations. And in other places, there were initially voluntary, then mandatory. So all these different approaches that in hindsight we can sit there and look at now and study to try to figure out what can be done better in the future. And so we were working on this story about evacuations and essentially the need for better communication moving forward. And first and foremost, I want to point this out. Buncombe County, which had a majority of the deaths there, almost half of the deaths were from Buncombe County during Helene in North Carolina, they have requested $12 million from the state through a FEMA match program to add sirens along about 10 creeks and rivers to better alert people. Because, you may send out a cell phone alert, but maybe I don't get the message, right? Mm-hmm. And experts will say redundancy is critical. The more efforts you make to reach people, the better. So they're asking for this money to add stream gauges and sirens to help alert people if and when the next storm occurs. Well, we were up there working on this story and several others, and we had interviewed this couple along Flat Creek in Buncombe County, and they said, you've got to meet the Mattress Sisters. And I said, what do you mean? Why are they called the Mattress Sisters? They said they survived Helene by riding a mattress down the floodwaters.
Amazing.
And these women are 75 and 76. And I just want to sit back and let you all hear from them, first of all, because their story is unbelievable, and it's incredible that they survived. And they're just, I don't know, their attitude is so positive and refreshing and inspirational. So let's take a listen to that, and then we can talk more about it.
All right.
The water was doing 85 and 90 miles an hour.
But you were in the water.
Yeah. We were on the mattress. The house just shattered into pieces. The first one, when the logs hit, the avalanche came down, hit the sawmill, and the logs broke loose, and there were logs like this. It was literally like being torpedoed. When it hit, it knocked us in the floor, the first one. Then I stood up, and I saw my washer and dryer and laundry room go by, and I saw cars going by and animals, and I'm like, what? And then it hit again and just shattered it.
So you were on a mattress with your sister?
Yeah. And we both of us, we went like 2 or 3 miles down there till nobody found us for like 2 days. I think they gave up looking for us because, they found, unfortunately, 2 women here that had passed away, and they thought it was us, but it wasn't. And some lady and my neighbors were walking down there, and we heard them singing one morning.
We got up early that morning, and the water was rising quickly, and she moved the cars up the hill a little bit, and she said, don't worry, the house is built really well, so I'm not worried about that. We went through Andrews. But anyway, everything just went haywire all of a sudden, and I looked in the back. She was coming in the door, and there was a wall of water coming through, and it knocked out the utility room, and all of a sudden we ran to the bedroom, jumped on the mattress with our little dog, and the house broke up, and so we were just going down the river about 3 miles. We were going about 80 miles an hour, and it was just devastating. We just didn't know where we were going to end up or anything, and all of a sudden we landed in a bunch of debris, and I fell off into a vortex off the bed, and Jackie got thrown from the mattress on a flat area where she stood up and tried to get me out, but the water was pulling me down, and so she held on to me about 45 minutes, and finally threw a table in there. It was strong enough where I could hold on to it. It was floating by, and so she threw it in, and I was able to pull myself up after about 45 minutes.
I MacGyvered everything. Anything that floated by, I grabbed bottles of water, I grabbed plastic, anything that I could find that I knew we were going to be there for a while. So I just went in survivor mode. She was flipping out on me. You know, she just, I think it was each one of us trying to keep the other one alive. It's like I'm permanently scarred from being beat around in the storm so much.
We prayed every night and thanked God that we pulled through this, and that somebody finally found us after the third day. This lady brought some chainsaws with some men, and they pulled us out of the rubbish, and then they flew us into Asheville. Jackie.
How did you stay on that mattress though? How?
Oh, it was just like, it was,
You didn't have a choice.
if you fell off, you were gone. I mean, we were holding on to each other, and the little dog was in the middle of us, and we were just holding on for life.
It's do or die at that point. I mean,
Oh yeah.
all we had on was our nightgowns, and they were ripped to shreds, and just I don't even have the, you know, people think I'm crazy because God spoke to me. This calmness came over me. This calmness came over me at one point, and I told my sister, I'm like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. 2 hours later, we heard a woman singing, and then we started screaming and banging because I couldn't figure out where we were, but we were like 40 feet down a pile of debris. That's why they couldn't find us, because there was so much stuff on top.
First of all, I love these women. Don't we love the Mattress Sisters? Jackie and Cynthia, their testimony to surviving is amazing in their 70s. What strength and inspiration, and how are they doing today?
I mean, just, you know, number one, upstream from them,
Yeah.
like more than a dozen people died, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can imagine being in that situation, and I mean, I don't know how you don't give up, right?
Right.
And maybe it's because they were with each other. The dog was there, little Romeo, he survived.
So many things could happen.
You know, I think that was part of it. But I was just so blown away by their strength. I mean, they're doing as good as they can be. You know, they have this positivity, and Cynthia gave me a hug before we left and was just so thankful that people had not forgotten about them.
Right.
Like, that's a big thing up there, is that they still need a lot of help, and they're just grateful that they're still in people's thoughts. And I was texting with one of their friends today. I mean, like the life savings went into their house they were living in that's now gone. They have volunteers up there helping them rebuild, but they still need something like $45,000 to really get back on their feet up there. They have a GoFundMe they're trying to raise money for. And yeah, they've got people planting flower beds for them, which is, you know, Jackie loved her flower beds, number one. Those were obviously destroyed. You know, they don't even have a bridge over the creek up there right now. There's so many other factors going on. And I think that's something that I realized spending the day up there, is that it's not really black and white. It's very complicated, right? This isn't just, okay, if you survived, your house is gone. This is trauma. This is everything that you had in your life gone, except for your life.
Neighbors gone?
Yeah, I mean, you have people that you know, your community didn't survive. And so I think that for them, it's a long way forward still, and they have such gratitude. And I think that's the hard part. They feel terrible asking for help.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
don't want to have to do that.
There's that generation too, though. You know.
You're right.
A little proud.
Yeah, they don't want to have to ask for help. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. I mean, I don't know. I just know that they need help still.
Resilient.
They need help. And thank goodness the community stepped up in a big way to help them. But I'd imagine you can find this story in any holler up there that was affected.
Sure.
Right.
Where you know, so much of what had existed for a long time had washed away. And what struck me too about these sisters is they said they were pretty much caught off guard by Helene. I mean, a lot of people were, right?
Right.
And they didn't get any warnings. They said, you know, once their power went out, they felt really like they didn't know what to do. And then they woke up and they saw the floodwaters coming in. But at that point, what was the alternative? I mean, I don't really know what else you could do.
You're in the middle
and,
of the night.
You know, and it's such a remote area back there too. Our cell service wasn't good. It didn't work for a long time. And so Wi-Fi is critical, but when the Wi-Fi is wiped out, you don't have that. They had a landline, but that's also complicated by all the infrastructure challenges. There were major landslides that wiped down everything on top of the rainwater. So I just don't know how they did it. I mean, I'm trying to picture, and I know they said 80 miles per hour down that river, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it felt like that.
Sure.
At a
Super
minimum,
fast.
maybe even more. Who knows how fast it was going. And to sit there for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, like I
With
don't
the
know how to do
dog.
it. And the
Holding
dog in the middle of
on.
the mattress.
Almost
And the
holding
dog, by the way, how is the dog? People are
Dog's
wondering.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Oh, thank
kind
goodness.
of like a little Yorkie.
Aw.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not great with dogs.
But a little dog.
breeds.
A little
It's
dog.
a tiny lap dog, which is even incredible too, because this lap dog was in the middle of these two sisters.
Right.
Just amazing people, and I've loved talking to them. And I texted Jackie this morning. I want to see one of the previous texts she sent me, just because her attitude, it just blows me away. She's first of all hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
And I
tell.
Yes. No, they're
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
That's her a coping mechanism, though. And,
Yeah.
and she
Sure.
kind of said as much too, you know, because what she really wanted to do is to kind of not make light of it, but how else do you move past it?
Yeah.
Right, you
in that
gotta laugh
situation?
cry
if
or
you're
laugh,
crying,
you know.
right?
You know, so let me see if I can find it here, because I just, you know, I think it's just so telling. Here's a good line from her. People don't understand you're sitting there one day with everything you own and collected your entire life, and the next minute everything in your life is gone. I mean, everything in my life was gone. Grandma's antiques jewelry, her gun collection, her sewing machine. It's so much, right? And these are just things, right?
Sure, we say that.
Right, we do say that, but think about the things in your home. They're all meaningful in their own way. And I know that,
Yeah.
like, we went up to their house. Cynthia was so eager to show me inside this house, because from the outside, it looks like a house. But it's essentially like a shed slash barn that they're not living in.
Everything's just cleared out.
No, but it's they built a shed.
Oh, they built. Okay.
And they're
okay,
living
okay.
in it. And there's a bathroom, there's a bedroom. I mean, it looks like a house.
Okay.
And so you look up at the roof and you realize that you're in a shed. And so right now, like, they need to add their closet onto the shed, basically,
Right.
because they need more space, you know, and they have a kitchen. It's just, to me, it's just so mind-blowing that this is the way people are living out of necessity right now. They're having to survive, and they're getting a ton of help. But she's just, you know, they're kind of desperate in some ways. You know, they gave up some of their land for the bridge they still have to build.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, they're all giving people up there, and they really are not close to, you know, the city. So it's just hard to really explain it. Like, as one person told me, one of their neighbors, Michelle Pentecost, said to me, she goes, you can see pictures of it, it's not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to come up
Gotta
here.
be in
you've
it, you
gotta
gotta
talk
live
to
it.
people. And I'm not doing justice trying to explain
Sure.
what these
Sure.
women went through, but it's just all of them up there have lost things in their own way. And, you know, you're living on the river, you know, you were not going to expect it to kind of
No.
swell the way it did, and then it just kind of expanded the riverbed ultimately. And these sirens that Buncombe County wants to buy, some of them would go along Flat Creek, where she lives. And there's also a couple of the big rivers there in Asheville and about 9 other creeks that they're hoping to get this money for. But then we got the government. How long is that going to take?
Right, so it's
Right.
a waiting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, they still have needs just to cover basics.
Exactly.
What can we do to help?
Yeah, I mean, number one, they want people to still keep showing up and just not forgetting about them. And that's the hard part when I was talking to people up there, too. I mean, if you think about the number of disasters all alone, just disasters we've had since then, you know, the wildfires in California, the flooding in Texas, and I know I'm missing others, too, right? It's just, we don't forget people, but we look to the next one a lot of
Right.
times. And so recovery is not a year thing,
No.
right? This is a lifetime of trying to recover from this. And it's generational, you know, it'll have generational impacts if people aren't willing to help them. So I know there's tons of volunteer organizations up there still trying to help. I know in some places they're just trying to get footbridges up, and you know, in Western North Carolina, just to get people access to their property. So I would say, number one, they just don't want you to forget them. So, you know, like in these sisters, they have a GoFundMe, as I've said. I'm sure there's plenty of other fundraisers out there for plenty of other people. And we also visited like a FEMA trailer park where, you know, they're temporary housing for people, but it's temporary. So like you have to kind of think of these next steps for folks as they try to recover from this. So I just think that that's part of why we're doing a lot of this reporting almost a year later, is to remind people of the impact, and that while there's some amazing survival stories, people are surviving still.
Yeah.
Right? They're
Right.
in survival mode right now. So any help that people can offer, I know, would definitely be welcome up that way. And you can always reach out to me, and I can connect you to them if that's something that your heart speaks to you about the story.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think I say this multiple times, but for every group of sisters like this, there are other people just
Right.
like them that are in
Right.
a similar situation up there.
Right.
And that's the key. How many homes were destroyed? I mean, 100+ lives lost up there. So we just can't kind of forget about them. And that's kind of the main point that I would drive home. And never while we were up there did they say that, though. The sisters were like, you know, you can't forget us. They were like, thank you for not forgetting us.
Ah.
You know, there's a lot of
It was,
gratitude.
it came from a place of gratitude.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
I get that.
Really special people. I just love it. And
Yeah,
their
they are.
neighbors love them. I mean, how could you
how
not?
could
You can see
not?
why.
I mean, we were up there talking to them, like, I didn't really believe it at first when they said, I need to talk to these sisters. And I went to talk to them, and she started talking. I'm like, totally believable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't believe their story hasn't gotten out there more than it has at this point. And you just want to keep talking to them because they're
Right.
just, and maybe it's therapeutic for them. I don't know. But I think it's, in some ways, it's a testimony to other people, too, that, you know, when life really has got you on the edge, that there's maybe a way and a chance out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. The fact that they both survived.
Yeah.
And one's holding the other, like
That's
she's falling
I
into
can't
the
get.
water.
She's
No,
been
it's-
holding on and
That's a
grab
scene,
table
a
and grabbing
visual.
debris that's floating by you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, makeshift.
Ugh.
And a helicopter has to pull them out eventually, and they're in their ripped
Wow.
nightgowns. You can just picture all
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm sure black
3
and
days.
blue.
Yeah. You're in the water
Just
for that
amazing.
long, and then the dog.
Then the
And
dog.
the dog has to be rescued, and everyone
Yeah.
survived. Yes. I mean, all the words, incredible and unimaginable, and we are glad that they're still here and that you were able to talk to them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bring us that story, Nate.
And I'll mention, too, I mean, if you want to reach out to your members of Congress and push them to make sure that, you know, Buncombe County gets the money for these sirens.
There you go.
And for the stream gauges, because they will undoubtedly save lives. And it's not like Buncombe County didn't go knock on doors. They had firefighters out there trying to get people voluntarily to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they sent out alerts. And, you know, the county manager said if she could do it over again, maybe she would have sent people out a little bit sooner to get people to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine you have all those efforts, then you have sirens.
Right.
I mean, you know, that was an issue down in Texas. There are no
Right.
sirens. Like, if you
Right.
hear a siren, that is a jarring noise that,
Yep.
you know, the hope is that they're so disruptive that you have to leave. And that's what the text messages, the cell phone messages, the county manager said, became so annoying to people who were trying to sleep in the middle of the night. They just left. They said, we've got to leave. This keeps going off.
Right.
We can't sleep anyways. We got to get out of here. So.
Well, you know, we hear the numbers and the data and what happened, but when you put a face to the story and tell us the story of survival, we can't imagine those who did not survive. And your story certainly showing us some of those serious gaps in the emergency response systems for our local counties in Western North Carolina. So, Nate, thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And with that, of course, that story right now is posted on the WCNC app as well as the website. You can get more information. Reach out to Nate, going to his story that aired here on WCNC Charlotte.